Today's session is water conservation and Wicking Beds, session number 7. We are here at the Randwick Community Centre at Permaculture Garden, and here with Steve Batley. And my name is Natalia from Randwick Council. And I'd like to start by paying my respects. And I would like to acknowledge that we're meeting on the land of the Bijigal and Gajigal people that occupy the Sydney coast, being a traditional owners. I acknowledge and pay my respects to elders both past and present, and the Aboriginal people in the audience. I'm hoping that everybody can see me, and we'll start the session now anyway. So hopefully someone can say, yes, we can hear you. Thank you for everybody to be here. And please, when you do speak up, speak loudly so people on the Zoom can hear you, and say your name. And people on the Zoom, our chat area will be not monitored closely. So please speak up and ask questions, and do say your name so we know who's speaking. And we start now. Thank you.
We have no idea if anyone can hear us, so if you can.
Somebody said yes.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, okay.
That's good.
Yes.
Maybe our microphone.
Said yes mostly.
I don't know if that's something at all, but anyway. So welcome to our garden again. And today we're talking, or we're going to explore water. So really important, obviously, part of growing food in a small space is how do you how do we keep our plants alive and thriving by making sure they got plenty of water. So we might, if Natalia is ready,
yeah,
we might just have a quick look at our plants that we put in, some of our plants that we put in last week, and see how they're going. So it's very exciting here because last week we did transplanting and planting out our garden beds, and what were some of the things that we were thinking about when we were planting? Oh, you guys.
for everyone.
For anyone.
Just the relationship between the plants and the environment, and somebody else.
Yeah, yeah.
The guild idea.
Yeah, the guild idea. So I don't know if we can zoom in on, we'll have a look at this one. This is the one that we were using. So did any of you guys finish this one off?
Me and I think maybe
and
you.
Yeah.
Of course.
Somebody else. Doesn't matter. Yeah.
Yeah. So did you want to just point at what's in here and why, just quickly in a couple of minutes? Just show us what you've put in and why you chose to put it.
Okay.
Yeah, there's some eggplant growing here, or just one.
Yep.
Eggplant, and there's some flowering plants here. This again is flowering for pollination. There's some perpetual spinach. That's thyme. Lemon.
Yeah,
thyme.
lemon thyme.
And chives. And there's edible weed.
Yeah, this one.
Parsley.
Yep.
Parsley.
Purslane.
And there's some parsley, there's some tomato, there's tomato there, there's some cucumber, and some beans. Yeah, there's some. Oh, they sprouted. And
Yeah, the beans came up.
Yeah, there you go. I don't remember where I put them, but there you go.
I think they were the demonstration beans we just stuffed into the ground to demonstrate.
There's another 3 then.
There's some more around. Yeah. That's what we planted.
And
here.
that's that plant was there is a tomatillo, yeah?
We think it might be a tomatillo, yeah.
Yeah. And there is a grasshopper just in there.
There's a grasshopper on it.
Yeah.
And it's grown taller.
And it's so green. Yeah.
The exact shade of green, so it's quite difficult.
Yeah, there you go. They're good at hiding those things. Yeah, it's grown. It seems to have grown a lot.
Yeah.
Since
So
last
this
week.
is sign.
Yeah, this has grown a lot.
Maybe because there's more space.
Yeah, possibly, yeah. Because remember, it was all just fully overgrown with all sorts of weeds, and we just chopped them down at ground level. And so why, just briefly, what's the benefit of having all of this mixed planting, or one of the benefits, or some of the benefits?
Pollination, they can support each other.
different nutrients into the soil.
Yeah.
Diversity.
Yep, diversity. So let's, what are some of the principles? So we didn't talk about permaculture principles last week, or maybe the week before as well. So I wanted to bring us back to some of our permaculture principles. Can you remember any of them that might be relevant to this type of planting? Here's one. Which we talked about already. So use and value diversity. So if we keep that in mind when you're planting, you're on the way to a healthy garden. This is another permaculture principle. I don't know if we've talked about this one, but build small and intensive systems. So this is only a small garden bed, but it's going to produce a lot of different food and lots of food because all of these plants are filling up the niche. These two I really like. Each important function is supported by many elements. So in this context, maybe one of the functions we've provided here with the herbs is that smell, and that helps it's called scent masking, so it confuses the pests. So we've provided scent masking with, we've got thyme, we've got chives, thank you. We've got basil over here. So we've got 3 different elements performing that function, and these smell as well. So lots of different things. We want to take some fruit out of the garden. We've got tomatoes and cucumbers and tomatillos. So we're not just relying on tomatoes by themselves. We've got diversity, and the functions are performed by many elements. Do you remember one of the other ideas that we did here it was called stacking? Yeah. So the idea of stacking plants. So we're growing things tall and we're tucking things in underneath. So we're getting different layers of garden. All right. So they've actually gone really well this week. So you guys have really done a good job of planting them and watering them in and getting them through the week. Hey, Andrew.
And we also put lots of love.
And lots of love,
Yes.
the key ingredient. That should be one of the permaculture principles. Yes. Apply lots of love. This weekend is going to be stinking hot, like really hot. So it's a good time to think about water and how we can make sure that our plants have access to water so they grow quite well. These have been watered today by hand. So, sorry. Aldrina has been watering all these gardens this morning by hand. I'll just show you how, a good way to do that. So that's one way to water your plants. What's another way that we can you can provide water for your plants? Drip irrigation. So particularly in pots, an automated drip irrigation system, which is quite inexpensive off the shelf, and you set it up, makes the world of difference to how well your plants will grow. And self-watering pots. So that's another way. So the actual container that you use has and another name for that is wicking beds. So we can so we create, this is a wicking bed, so it's got a water reservoir in the bottom. So I'll show you a wicking bed over there that we've half emptied just to show you how it works. So they're probably how else can we make sure that there's water in our soil? Shade. Maybe a bit of shade. And mulch. So how we actually, mulching is really, really important for holding that moisture in the soil. So they're the 3 kind of main categories of things that will, and shade is actually a good one. If you look at these garden beds over here, which are jam-packed full of plants, there's virtually no light getting down into the soil. So that will help prevent, a direct evaporation. There's tons of water coming out of those plants, but that's okay. That's what we want. So. All right. So today's kind of practical about how we can set some simple things, so you don't have to get home from work on a Friday afternoon and it's 40 degrees and you don't want to stand in the garden with a hose, but you want your plants to survive and thrive. So we'll share some strategies around that. Send her up.
Yeah.
Try not to spend too long out here, but probably will. Okay, so we'll start with wicking beds, which is on over here. So there those. Anyone here made a wicking bed or grown things in a wicking bed or a self-watering pot? No. So let's wait for the gang to. Thank you. All right, so wicking beds, we may have described them before, but wicking beds are essentially a pot or a garden bed that has a water reservoir underneath, and the water soaks up from the bottom. So every time you water, instead of the water just disappearing, the wicking bed holds on to a bunch of water and makes it available for your plants from underneath. So here's one that we made years ago, just out of an off-the-shelf pot. So these days you can buy wicking beds ready-made and ready to go. It's probably the best way to do it, to be honest. It's easy, but you can make your own. So what we've done with this pot is in the bottom, we've got, I'm going to try and do this up. So I don't know if you can see those pipes there. They're called ag pipes, so they're hollow and they're 100 mil deep. So we've got 100 millimeters or 4 inches, 10 centimeters of area in the bottom of this pot that holds water. So I don't know what the maths are on that, but there's probably looks like about 30 or 40 litres of water that gets held in this pot. So that's one thing. The other thing you might notice, we've got this stuff. So this is pond liner. It is what you make ponds out of, and it's designed to hold water. So you need it to be waterproof to hold water. Some people, you can use black plastic, like builder's plastic, and do about 10 layers of it. But builder's plastic doesn't last very long, and all you need is like a tiny little hole, and you don't have a wicking bed anymore. So I'd recommend spending a bit of money if you're making one and doing that. But essentially, it's a container that holds water. You can make a wicking bed in a bathtub. That'd be perfect. It's already the ones down the bottom there, those IBC containers, which are meter by meter by meter. They actually hold water and liquid, and they use them for transporting liquid around the world. And you can cut one of those in half, and you got 2 ready-made wicking bed containers. So there's lots of different ways to do it. You can buy them, as I said. What's that?
It's like just go and get one and cut it in.
Yeah, well, it's a bit more than that. It's not. But you want something that holds water, and then you put something that will hold the soil up. So it could be this what's called ag pipe. You could fill with gravel, so you could have a bunch of gravel on the bottom, or anything that's going to allow moist water to hold in there. But the soil. So here we've used ag pipe, and then you need some of this fabric over the top. And this is it here. It's landscaper's fabric, so it's like filter. It's called filter fabric. So it lets the water through, it doesn't let the soil through. And look, I know there's a gazillion different ways of doing this. This is just one way. So you can use other materials instead of the fabric. But we use the fabric, and then what that does, it separates the water reservoir from the soil that you put in over the top. If you didn't have some sort of layer, you'd just end up filling up your reservoir with soil, and it wouldn't be a wicking bed.
What's the fabric made?
I don't know, to be honest. Yeah. It's probably not. It's like, I don't know. It's almost like fiberglass or something. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure. It's designed not to break down, so it's probably plasticky kind of stuff. So whether you want to use that or not. Some people have said they use a thick, like a 4 centimeters, 3 centimeters of coconut fiber.
Oh, right.
But that doesn't break down, but that lets the water through. I've never tried it. Let's see if it would work. But it might just fall down into
The ag pipe lasts a long time.
Yeah, that lasts forever. Like, it's probably literally.
How hard is the egg pot?
It's the whole bottom, the whole base of this thing has got ag pipe with just cut lengths and fitted as much as you
So
could.
that's just to raise it. So it's like, yeah. So that pipe doesn't serve pipe.
Yeah, it's not really a pipe purpose. It's just to create space for water, really.
Are there other alternatives you could use or not?
Yeah, whatever your imagination kind of. Yeah, you can do.
What about bricks? No, they break down eventually.
No, bricks wouldn't, but you solid bricks, there'd be no room for water. So you want to have space. You want to create something that's going to hold up the soil. They'll have space underneath. Yeah, stones. We use gravel. I use gravel a lot. The benefit of the ag pipe, the pipe is there's more space for the water.
It's super efficient because it's so thin.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so it's all water. Rocks, it's probably 50% rocks, 50% water. But, yeah. So then you put your fabric down, and then it holds moisture, so you can fill it up with a hose, and it gets to a certain point, and you can see where the water is here. So this has been draining out for about an hour. So the water will sit like that. So some of the pipe is above the water, and some of the in between the pipes is below the water. And the reason it's at that level is because I punched a hole in the bottom of in the side of the pond liner at just the right height, so that when the water drains down, a little bit of water is above the fabric, but not too much. So there's a hole in the side here, which goes through the side of the pond liner. So that's the key. If you don't have a hole in the side and your pond liner goes all the way to the top, or if you're using a bathtub.
Can you point out to the Zoom people where that hole from this side as well?
So there's the little outlet there. This is my high-tech piece of bamboo stick poking out the side. Okay. And that's important because what you put above the fabric, you fill it up with your soil mix. If there's too much water over the top of the fabric and you've got too much soil sitting in the water, what do you think might happen? Yeah, it goes a bit festy and stinky and anaerobic, and but you want contact with the soil and the water. You don't want too much, so you get it roughly about there. And then on top of that, you just fill that up with soil, really good soil mix, around about 30 centimeters. You don't want much more than 30 centimeters because the water can't soak up far enough for the plants to access. You don't want it too shallow because it'll be too wet. It seems to be 30 centimeters, totally unscientific, but that seems to be the number. Okay, about that deep. And then the plants, once they grow down, so this water through just soaking up through osmosis will reach the plant roots. So every time we water, the water goes down, gets caught in the reservoir, and you've got 30, 40 litres of water that will be watering the garden during the week or whatever.
And the plant roots will go down that deep, that 30.
Some of them will, yeah, but the moisture will soak almost all the way up to the top. Some people do a thing where you actually get some of this fabric and make it into a sausage or a wick. I think this is why they're called wicking beds. So you make a wick out of this stuff, and you imagine I'd cut that, it's like a sausage, you wrap it, you push that one end right down into the water reservoir and have it coming up through the soil profile, and this acts as a mechanism for the water to soak up. So you can do that as well. I've found that you don't necessarily need that, but it's
And Steve, sorry, how thick is the layer of grit?
the water.
Oh, no, the stones.
Yeah, anywhere from, it depends how deep your pot is. So the magic number is that 30 centimeters from the top is where it starts. So if your pot is 50 centimeters, you'd have 20 centimeters of water. But you don't want it too deep because it won't. Yeah, I'd go anywhere sort of about 15 to 20 centimeters of water reservoir.
Okay, and then the gravel.
The gravel is in the water reservoir, so this is gravel.
And how deep is the gravel layer?
Full. It's got to be full because the fabric sits on top of the gravel and the soil sits on top of that. We wait. Yeah. And then you fill it up with soil.
Thank you.
No worries. which I have in our wheelbarrow over here. So I might just quickly do that. So this I actually took out of here. So it looks all right. So you get the idea, and you fill it up to the top, and then whatever you plant in there has access to all that moisture from the bottom.
Steve, if you have a big raised bed and you just want to have a small reservoir, will that work? Like, I mean, by a small reservoir, about this size, if you had a bigger. Can we speak?
Could you do part of the raised bed with a water reservoir? I guess it wouldn't hurt, but I guess if you're a plant down that end and the water reservoir's up this end, it might not be so useful. But whatever's above the reservoir would benefit from it.
Sort of like osmosis through it.
Yeah, it probably will. Yeah, it probably will soak sideways as well. So, you know, it's a bit of faffing around, it's a bit of cost, it's a bit of effort, but it actually makes a real difference to how well your plants grow if they've got access to water from underneath, and it minimizes how often you have to water, because you can get through a week between waterings with something like this instead of having to water every day or every second day. So it's worth doing. But yeah, do your research. There's probably off-the-shelf models that are really easy to use.
So that pipe at the end is important.
Yeah, so thank you. This pipe here is our water reservoir filling tube.
Okay.
So the theory is that instead of watering from the top, you just water through there, it fills up the reservoir, and you know it's full either by looking or having a dipstick, or it'll come out the overflow at the other end. So if you don't want to water from the top, you put the water in there and it all just soaks up on the bottom. So it's really, really efficient. You're not losing any water to evaporation because it all is stored in underneath.
You've got a bottom on that?
Yeah, so it holds water at the bottom. So I tend to water from the top, particularly if you've got new plants. They won't be able to access that water down deep. But once the plants are established, you can normally just water from the bottom through that pipe.
How long does it have to be?
That pipe goes all the way down
Okay, so
into
it
the So that's wicking beds or self-watering pots, which is a really cool way of making sure your plants get water.
So, Steve, the bottom of that
Bottom
tube,
of the pipe. Yep.
what have you done? Is it just above
So the fabric should. I don't know if it does. So that's like it goes in and roll all the way to the bottom of this pot. And when you water it, the water gets to the bottom and just oozes out into the other pipes. I don't know
just
what.
a little bit off the floor.
A little bit off the ground, yeah. These pipes have holes all around the sides as well.
So the other pipes also have holes.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, so it just oozes out all over the place. So there you go, self-watering pots, wicking beds.
What's the fabric?
It's called geotextile or landscape fabric. It's filter fabric. So this is the plant that we took out of that pot. It looks really unwell, but it virtually never got watered at all, and it's still alive. So I think that's something. We'll get on to. So what have we got? We got drip irrigation systems. So I want to show you different irrigation systems that you can set up quite easily. But I want to show you this one because I really like this one. It's kind of fun. So this is our vertical garden setup. And we're going to be looking at this, I think, either next week or the week after. So look at vertical. No, 10 weeks. Get 10 weeks. 10 weeks. There's still some really good stuff to go. You've got vertical gardens and pest management and the little microgreens. We grow microgreens and sprouts and stuff. So this system is effectively, there's a pond under this seat. So there's a principle in permaculture, multiple functions for things. So you can have a pond that's also a seat for warm. We used to have fish living in here. We're going to talk about aquaponics next week. Didn't work in public space. It just got tampered with too much, but we turned it into, we kept the pond, and our vertical gardens are soil-based vertical gardens, and there's a pump in the pond. So we've got a water pump, and we've got a timer. And so what happens is every day the pump turns on and it waters this vertical garden, this vertical garden, and this vertical garden. So even in really dry conditions, these are getting watered all the time. And the water just circulates, so we don't lose any water out of the system. It's a little bit like a wicking bed with a pump in it that circulates the water around. So that seems to be working pretty well. We haven't watered these by hand for a year. You know, it just happens automatically. So they're going all right. But I think next week we get to fix this up and do a bit of weeding and a bit more planting and tending to those guys.
How does the pump system work?
So there's
Does it just have to be connected to a power source?
yeah, you need a power.
Operated?
Yeah,
Battery operated ones?
you can. Yeah, I set one up once with it was just in the middle of nowhere. We didn't have power, so we had a solar panel, little solar panel that charged a battery, and the battery ran the pump.
Yeah.
And just had a little timer, so it connected up into that. So it was completely off grid, and so it just would pump the water out. And you can put food, you can put your seaweeds and things in the water, and it automatically feeds the plants as well. You could have a couple of goldfish, or maybe not goldfish, but fish, more useful fish swimming around the pond, and they'll be fertilizing the water. So it's a really self-feeding, self-watering, zero energy kind of productive system. So it's another option, is to have your water reservoir with your pump. And yep. This one. Guess what that is? Yeah, that's parsley. It's one parsley plant.
That's a
one.
big one.
That's a lettuce. That's a lissam. We got strawberries. The strawberries go really well in this system. They like the moisture, and the strawberries kind of hang down. They get eaten before they. It's all right. Yeah, we've got to have some beetroot in there and a couple of different things. So. Yeah, I think that's beetroot. Beetroot there, beetroot there. It's like dill or something. Parsley, got parsley. So that's one way of watering, is you kind of have a closed loop system where you've got a water container that pumps the water around. It's actually really quite good. So we'll head up into the shade because it's too hot. Peas. Yes, efficient. Yeah, I know. Look out! This is the bit where everyone gets wet. So, so another option, which is more labour intensive, but can be, it's one of the more enjoyable jobs of gardening. I think it's standing there with a hose. It can be very relaxing. Yes, meditative and relaxing. But when you're growing in small spaces, in pots particularly, they can dry out really quickly. That's all they've got. The plants can't go anywhere else. So it's kind of a thing that you need to do regularly. And doesn't always happen, right? So if there's 2 days of 40 degrees and you're away or out, then your plant's dead. It sounds like it's going to blow, doesn't it? Look out. But I just want to show you this. If you're going to water by hand, one of these is quite handy, because you can just get down to where the roots of the plant. I should really be demonstrating over there. Maybe I will. I'll be. Sorry, just go down. So just believe it or not, there's a way to water by hand. It's really hot. It's really hot. Okay, now, first of all, you wouldn't water now because it's hot, and your little seedlings or even your bigger plants can they can burn if you're on a really hot day and you hose the leaves. They can get, I don't know exactly how it works, but they can get damage from that water evaporating. So wait till the afternoon, later in the afternoon, or do it first thing in the morning. I'm just wasting this water because it's been sitting in the sun all day. It's really cool now. So it's really lovely, I think, and I think I'm not alone. At the end of the day, you've got something in, nice drink, nice cool drink, and you just spend a few hours doing this, right? It's a great thing to do. If you're watering like this, has anyone watered like this and seen what happens? Yeah, you can get the leaves burning. What else? What happens is you'd be amazed how long you can stand here doing this and how little water actually soaks into the soil. It's just you spread it. I mean, you could stand here for a long time and do it, and the water would soak in. But you would need to, just try it. Just sort of do that. We've done that, and it's virtually gone in like 0.5 millimeter. So a more efficient way of watering and a better way to get the water where it's needed around the plants is you've got a plant there. Kind of do that, and hold it there for. As long as it takes to think about how long you should hold it there for, whatever that is.
Like there's a big watering can. You pretty much like a whole one per plant.
It kind of, yeah, it kind of depends. So imagine.
What is that? If I'm watering them or not? If I go a few and then go back and do a few, or is it better just to split it one?
Yeah. Depends. You could do a little bit here and then do this one. Better to wait and then do this one. But I reckon that one hasn't had enough. So you'd be surprised. I guess the point is you'd be surprised how little water you're applying at this point in time. The good thing about a watering can is you can actually measure how much water you're delivering. But often I'll say, in gardening, less is more. But in this case, more is more. So you really want the water to soak deep. So a good deep watering locally around the plant is more efficient than kind of just doing this. And this is okay, but you'd have, but you do this for an hour and probably be enough water. Maybe not an hour, but you know what I mean. So we want that water. You want to water deep and less often, rather than shallow watering more often. Okay, if you water deep, the roots go deep. They're more they're more drought tolerant.
So Steve, it would be usual thing that if you water deeply and then the next day you come out and check, you sort of put your finger in.
Yeah, that's a really good question. So how do you know when you need to water? Maybe I'm just wasting my time. These plants don't need water because they were watered before. How do you? Yeah, so the best tool you've got, well, you got a couple of tools to know if you need to water. one of them is your digit. You stick it in the ground. Feel around. It feels quite moist down there. See how it's all stuck to me? It's quite moist, so it probably doesn't need water. What's another way you can tell if your plants need water? Yeah, the plants will tell you, and you'll learn to read your plants. And the whole wilting thing is fairly obvious. These guys are not really wilting, are they? So they're going gangbusters. This garden bed, these guys are wilting a bit. So this plant looks a bit thirsty. It's a little bit pale and a little bit raw. But sometimes, and that will tell you, but sometimes on a hot day, plants will do that. They'll wilt, even though there's plenty of water in the soil. It's just their mechanism for surviving. So they turn their leaves away from the sun. And then in the afternoon, when the sun's gone, they come back again. So you'll get a feel for that. So between the look of the plants and your finger in the soil, you'll be able to make a call whether they need watering or not. The other way, if you're growing in pots, you don't want to water. Yeah, you'll see the water come out of the bottom. So that's probably when you stop, because you know the water's soaked all the way through. So that's a little bit easier than in this kind of context. It's relaxing, isn't it? We should move on. So that's hand watering, I guess, the most important thing. But one of these is really good, particularly if you're going from pot to pot to pot. You can turn it off in between, so you're not just wasting water. Any questions about hand watering? No, it's all pretty straightforward. I think one of the good upsides of hand watering, apart from being relaxing, is you can, while you're doing it, you can be observing and noticing things. See those butterflies flying past, and have a look at your plants and see if there's any pests or diseases, or you can, just assessing the vigor of the whole system.
Steve, I find with my plant, I'm lucky enough to have a bit of a soil, and so I can water the plant on top and have other plants underneath it. I've found really.
Yeah, okay. Like hanging.
So the top pot I water and have the others positioned underneath so they get the water.
The runoff, yeah, but yeah, that's great.
And that's
Perfect.
great. I
Yeah,
know.
good system. So you're not wasting anything.
Yes,
It's all getting used.
right.
Yeah. Righto. So that's hand watering. Another thing you can do, and what we have here is a drip irrigation system, which is automated. This is where you will get wet. It's all right, I will as well. It's all good. All right, so there's different systems that you can get, but for your small space, every gardener's got a bucket full of bits and pieces, irrigation bits and pieces. And I don't have the one bits and piece that I wanted to show you, but you can buy a little automated battery powered timers, $50 or something. Well worth the investment, pretty cheap and very easy to set up. It's just something that you screw onto a tap. It's got the easy ones are a couple of dials. One dial says how often you want to water, the other dial says for how long. So you can adjust that as you're observing this and what's going on. But you can set it to come on every second day for 10 minutes. And that might be perfect for your space. Maybe in summer, every day, whatever. So you set that up. You should get a plumber to install it, because you need to have a backflow prevention device. So the water doesn't, if there's a hole in the mains, it doesn't suck your dirty irrigation water back into our drinking water. So you should get it legally. You should have it joined up by a plumber. So you've got you'll have a timer. You can have this is a filter. So the water that comes through here gets sometimes there's bits of grit and stuff. So this will filter that out, and you can clean it every now and then. Just sort of wash that out, and that'll save you a lot of grief if you're using drippers.
It's a bit dark.
So a filter, and then you connect it to some of this black pipe, which is just solid plastic pipe, and you take that to wherever you want to take it to. You take it, run it around, and you could have a pot 50 meters away. You can have a dripper down in your pot 50 meters away. You can get joiners, you can get T-pieces, you can do whatever you want. It's really quite easy. You just cut this stuff, make a T-piece, and then you got pipes going all over the shop. Then when you get to your garden bed, there's a few options. So this is called it's drip line. This is what we've used here in our veggie gardens. It's 6mm drip line. The good thing about this stuff is it's very flexible, so you can wind it around your plants and you can cover the whole garden bed. So I'm going to show you how it works. So this is coming from the tap. Now you wouldn't, the frame is purely just, it's got nothing to do with the frame. It's all about just this drip line. So you've got your black pipe, you take the little piece off the black pipe, you run this through your garden, it goes back into your black pipe somewhere. And what it does, so they've got built-in drippers every 30 centimeters or so. So it just leaks water. Okay, so if you just cover most, just spread it around, it'll come on. And you can put this underneath your mulch. So it's a really efficient way of delivering water to your plants. Each dripper releases normally about 2 liters an hour. So you can actually do the maths on how much water you put into it. So that's quite a good system. This is the same thing, but it's a bigger pipe. 13mm does exactly the same thing, just drips out of these holes. So I won't demo that one. This one. No. No. I don't know. Not really sure. This would be more of probably like a bigger garden area, like a shrubbery kind of food forest or your orchard or whatever. But it seems to, I think it delivers the same amount of water. So
there's no real advantage on it.
This it may be more robust, and just kind of last longer, and it may probably this would do longer runs. So as you go along, because of the water pressure, this would go further. So, and whereas this one, because it's quite a small pipe, might only do a raised bed. So that would be the difference. Now, another thing you can do is do your own adjustable drippers. So the beauty of these ones is you can adjust how much water comes out of each one.
So you can close some off.
You can close some off, you can open some right up. So it's a bit more I tested this one. Apologies in advance. Is that working? Yeah. So you can see how this works.
Can you move that to the grey so it's kind of more clear?
Turn it up so you can see you can kind of really up more or down more. So this is quite good for pots. You could run a line, and you can run these using just this thin line. You can take a thin line off that pipe, take that up, put the end in a pot with a dripper on it. So you have one dripper per pot. This line you can kind of hide it. And you can say, okay, my carrots or my pot with my citrus needs more water or less water, and you adjust it accordingly. So that's quite a handy one. So it's fairly versatile. The beauty of these things is you can set them up, put the timer on, check them occasionally, and everything gets watered. And you don't have, it just takes the load off you having to do it every day or every second day or whatever. I had a whole bunch of pots on my deck last couple of years ago. Sort of some citrus, herbs and everything, and for a long time I was hand watering. And then I finally got around to setting up an irrigation system on a timer, and it made the world of difference. Really, everything just grew so much better. So it's kind of worth it. You do need a tap. So if you've got a balcony, might not be a bit trickier.
10 minutes.
10 minutes. Any questions about that?
Anyone on Zoom?
Anyone on Zoom got any questions? All right, so the only other thing, what's another thing for how do we also store water in the yeah, water tank. There you go. That's what you get. Yeah. So if you've got access, if you've got an option to have a water tank, you know that permaculture printer will capture and store energy or water in this case. And rainwater is so much better than tap water. I think I know why, but I'm not. Yeah, I reckon I think that's it. Yeah, so your tap water's got chlorine in it, which is, what is chlorine designed to, what does it do? Yeah, it kills bacteria, right? So we know that our soil is all about bacteria and microorganisms, so you don't necessarily want to kill those. So rainwater doesn't have that, hopefully. Yeah. The other thing is mulching. So I've got some mulch over there. So I'm just going to go and get it, and I'll show you how to mulch.
And someone comes by and set up that.
So when you're, even particularly in a pot, mulch makes the difference. Mulch is like, it just makes so much difference. What does mulch do for us, for our soil?
It holds some moisture in.
Yeah, it holds moisture in. It stops the moisture from evaporating. What else does it do? That's one thing. Yeah, feeds our organisms. Regulates the temperature. Yep. It's just brilliant. So, what can you use for mulch? What have you guys used for mulch? What did we use last week? You could use it if I think. Don't know how good it would be. Yeah. So last week we just chopped up the plants that we cut out and use those as mulch, because that's what happens in a cyclic kind of system. You can buy in mulch if you want to. This is straw, which is great mulch. It's a little bit cumbersome, I guess, to use in a small garden, because it's hard to kind of wiggle it around the plants that are in there. But a good layer of straw is awesome mulch. It's really good habitat for lizards as well. So straw is really good. One of the readily available ones is sugarcane mulch, which is basically chopped up sugarcane. So they squeeze the sugar out of it, and they've just got this fibre that's left behind and gets chopped up. You can easily get it. It's quite cheap. It's reusing a resource. And what you can see here is soil on the surface. So we want to avoid that at all costs, having soil exposed on the surface. So always cover it with a good, decent layer of mulch. Now this is a tomato. No idea what sort. Could be a self-seeded tomato. Tomatoes are one of the few plants that actually don't mind having mulch up around their stems. Encourages them to send out new roots. So what I'm doing here is not what you do with most of your plants. So things like this little silver beet, pull out that weed. You would leave some space around the stem so that it can breathe, but give it a good, nice, thick layer of mulch.
Yeah, it's a lot thicker than I would.
Yeah, go quite thick, particularly in summer. It's going to dry. Your soil will dry out really quickly.
It's difficult to water when it's so thick.
Not once it's wet. Yeah, but if you got your drip system, the water would be delivered underneath the mulch, which is ideal.
Oh, what about lawn clippings?
Yeah, has anyone used lawn clippings for mulch? Yeah, I would recommend putting them in your compost and then putting it on your soil, because lawn clippings they can have weeds in them for a start, and also when they break down, they seem to form like a sludgy layer, like a solid layer that water and things find it difficult to get through for a while. So yeah, but if it was mixed in with leaves and lots of diversity, then you'd probably use it. As long as it wasn't a weedy kind of lawn. So mulch. The only downside of mulch, we've got some little seedlings, little baby plants popping up here. Not sure what they are, but if I was to mulch over them, they probably wouldn't grow. So just go carefully, but where there's nothing growing, and you just pop it on the soil. I guess that is the benefit of mulch. It stops weeds growing, or it doesn't stop them, but it helps prevent weeds from growing. So I think we're done for Zoomers. That's great, but we got through everything. So so today's all about capturing and storing water. So you can capture and store it in a water tank, in a wicking bed, and in the soil. And yeah, it's just the systems that you can set up. So I don't know if
Do they have any question? Oh, somebody just left. And there's 3 people in the room. So do you have any questions? Or would you like to tell us what you've learned?
Yeah.
Barbara, following by Catherine. Barbara, you can unmute yourself. Maybe not Barbara. Catherine, would you like to say something? What have you learned? No? Sebastian?
Yeah, well, it was great again, but I really liked the explanation of the wicking bed. That was very interesting. So yeah, thanks again.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you, and we will see you all next week. And I've just put it in the link to the survey form if you can fill it in. And thanks again for being with us. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.